Usborne's Illustrated Stories are among my favorite Usborne books. Not only are the illustrations gorgeous, but I feel like the stories are really well written as well. So with that being said, not all of the illustrated stories are created equal. I feel like they are definitely geared for different age levels. So I'm going to give you a peek at the inside of the book so you have an idea of what might work best for your child. So this one is Illustrated Fairy Tales, and this one has tons of pictures on every single page and a little bit of text on each page. This one I feel can really suit kids that are younger or who need more picture support. My children as young as 2 have sat through the stories in this book because there's enough illustrations to keep them interested. Or if you have an older child that may need some more picture support or who enjoys having pictures in their story, this is a great one. This book is full of classic stories, so I think this is great, from 2 on up to 7, 8, 9 years old. And then if I come to this next one, Illustrated Adventure Stories, this one still has a good amount of picture support on every page, but as you can see, there's more text. So they're having to sit through and listen to more, or they're having to read more on their own, but it still has a lot of incredible picture support. And then here is Illustrated Stories from Aesop. Really love this one. As a teacher, I love Aesop tales. They're some of my favorite stories to read to kids. And here it's broken down by different categories. And what I like is at the end of each of these tales, there's a moral. So your kids can try and figure out what the moral of the story is. Now, as I'm thumbing through this, you can see that there's not a ton of picture support. There's a little bit at the beginning and throughout each fable, but there's not really a lot, but there's also not a ton of text on each page, so it's not too hard to read and get through, but unlike these other 2 books, there's not as much picture support in it. The next one I'm going to show you is Princes and Princesses, and as you can see, here's the table of contents. There's lots of different stories in here. And as I'm going through this one, you can see there's a bit more text and probably even less picture support in it. So this one is geared for, maybe just a great read aloud, or for a child who is a little bit more independent in their reading, doesn't require on as much picture support or just not as much into it. But it still has some beautiful pictures throughout it, which makes it enjoyable for the kids. And then the next one I'm going to show you is Illustrated Grimm's Fairy Tales, and I am a big fan of fairy tales, and I think that's just the teacher in me again. I think fairy tales are really well written and just have some good thinking and talking points for kids. But as you can see, there's a decent amount of illustrations in here, quite a bit of text to read through. So kind of geared for a little bit older or a great read aloud. Not necessarily good for younger kids who enjoy the picture support as they're being read to. And then the next one I have is Illustrated Bible Stories. And once again, this one has a lot of text in it with a few pictures throughout it. So, a good read aloud, but, maybe better for older kids or for kids who don't need the picture support as much. And then this last one I'm going to show you is one of our illustrated originals, and we have a few others of these. And these are basically great retellings of these classic stories. As you can see, there's lots of text on each of the pages with, a few pictures throughout, which makes it, a really beautiful book to have. So, and this would definitely, suit kids who are older, who, either love to have these big chapter books read aloud to them, or kids who are, independent chapter book readers and love to have a little surprise picture throughout. So here's a little taste of our illustrated books. I highly recommend them. They're the type of books that, you know, will last you a long time, and they're books that will grow with the kids, whether you're reading aloud to them now or they independently read it in the future. They have great content in them that I think is great for all kids.